Alrighty, hello folks, and good morning. Alright, so, after quite a while here, I finally got around to finishing Crimson Tactics here in order to actually go do a proper review and all of that. Um, you might notice that this is actually not terribly far from where we were at the end of last episode. Yeah, I kind of thought there was going to be an entire extra act here. It turns out it was basically right at the very end. So, here's the thing. I'd heard a lot of things about the ending to this particular game, and since the last episode, we've actually had a little bit more kind of official news come out from the devs and such, as far as what happened with this game, as far as just kind of where it's going in the future. Turns out it's nowhere. Yeah, unfortunately. As far as games go, this one face planted really damn hard. So let's go ahead and get into that here. So first and foremost, if you were essentially looking for a recommendation of like is this something that you really should be going and say picking up for $15 or whatever else, um, it depends. It depends on who you are. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're basically if you have the money to burn and you're just looking strictly at it as just a curiosity of what could have been, go for it. You know what? In that case, this would be for you. If you're looking for something that will kind of be with you in the long term, kind of looking for something to stand the test of time, as it were, definitely after the end here, you're gonna have to caution against that. So, here's the deal. Um, I'd heard a lot of things about the ending, like just how abrupt it might have been, whether it finished anything, any of that. I will say that it probably tied up exactly one plot line and then just kind of threw the rest to the wind. Um, the level of unfinished is like I'd seen some folks get upset, but it's a pretty next level amount of unfinished as far as the end there goes. Now, personally, here's the thing. Before I get into that, I want to point out I don't think that this was a full length kind of problem. As far as overall game length goes, that part isn't the question. The question was A, how it ended, and B, how much of that total game length should have been directed towards this, what could almost be called an ending to like a ROM hack of some random thing somebody threw together in, a demo disc back in the 90s or something. Because this legitimately reminds me of this of a experience I had with, I think it was like Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, something like that, ROM hack back in the day that basically just had a little bit of stuff in there, and then at the end of the chapter just kind of was just like, oh well, I guess you'll see more in the future, and then just kind of never had more from there. That's how the ending to this one feels, where effectively it doesn't really wrap up the story. They off-screen kill some character I don't remember ever actually doing anything. Then you never actually save the person you were there to save. The person that was being set up as the final boss of that particular arc, she just sort of pissed off to another castle, I guess. She just sort of never shows up, and then you have this really weird moment. I would say probably the most telling moment of it clearly being like that exact moment where the budget ran out. It's like when it comes to one of your background support characters that's in one of the final cutscenes there. He has this moment where he's like, oh man, I'm so sad that they just literally tortured my friend to death. That's a real shame. And then, like, a few seconds later, the main character comes in and is like, hey guys, we are screwed and we should probably leave, at which point the guy gets super inspired by this for some reason. And like, oh man, I forgot we have such a fiery hope for the future. Like, wait, what? He just told you you're gonna die. I don't really know how that's translating right here, but whatever you say, dude. But yeah, to say that it feels rushed is surprisingly an understatement. I was really expecting some closure of some variety going on there, but it just kind of drops out of nowhere. Like it feels like Like, you get a few fights into this particular chapter, and it just sort of drops. Now, what I was saying earlier about overall length is that it's actually not quite... it's not that it's too short. Again, it's how that particular situation is used, because this final arc, like, nothing gets resolved. There's a lot of dialogue, and there's what feels like it's starting to build up to something serious, but then just nothing really ends up happening. It just sort of cuts out a few maps in, and that's the end of the story, right? At the same time, the Necromancer arc probably made up half my actual, like, playtime over the course of this entire game, and, like, total game time was 31 hours, but that's not accounting for the like, as the game progressed, egregious amount of crashing that it started doing. Like, actually, to better paint a picture of something right here, to give you an idea of how unfinished some stuff feels, this is one of the later game classes that you get. This guy is personally responsible for wasting 5 damn hours of my life. The reason for this being, you have a choice over which group to backstab, alright? I'm assuming they felt that nobody would go for this guy. We go over to his skills. He has a skill here that says that it's throw shuriken, right? It's supposed to replace his ranged attack with a shuriken. It does not do that. Anyway, so he can't actually throw the thing that makes his class special, the whole thing that they're supposed to be doing. The rest of their skills I have not found a single use for, and this is, again, coming from somebody that was obsessing with finding any use for any skills whatsoever, including back attack from Tactics Ogre Reborn. So, believe you me, I was frickin' trying to find every use for everything, and yeah, I have not found a single useful situation for any of these skills so far. Anyway, that being said, you get this guy. He shows up for like 2 fights, and then the game ends. Not only that, his main primary form of attack doesn't work. On top of that, the reason that I said that this guy wasted several hours of my life here is something we're going to go ahead and recreate right here. See, he softblocks the game in a lot of situations. By talking to people, he softlocks the game. By dying, he softlocks the game. Just his mere existence and the fact that you can't take him out of the party in a lot of situations. Like, here I can, because technically the story's ended. But he can just frickin' softlock your game. So I don't know how bad it is with the other faction, but with this guy, he's just a constant softlock fest. And that's the thing. As the game went on, there were more and more and more and more and more of these. To the point where the final fight was probably in total an hour of actual game, and then 6+ hours of crashing or just like locking up, and or cutscenes finally just refusing to plain work whatsoever once you get to the very end there. So I didn't actually see half of the ending because it just was a black screen that just kind of sat there for 20 minutes and nothing happened. So yeah, thankfully there was the option to skip it and not redo the entire fight, and frankly I do not feel like redoing all that stuff again, because it just feels like it's launch day New Vegas, except this is just kind of its final state now. We have an official statement that they've done all they can. The money ran out. Like, they can't finish it. There's no plans to finish it. And by the sounds of things, they've just kind of moved on to entirely different genres. So that kind of sucks, because there was a lot of potential here. I mean, one of the things that had me so excited about this game is just the fact that it did have so much potential to it. A lot of the ideas here are something that's frankly novel. Like the way that a lot of the fights flow feels good. The way that a lot of the dashing around the map goes feels good. The way that they make use of a large map effectively is great. But unfortunately, yeah, we'll never actually see the full extent of this. There was the potential of, I don't know how mod-friendly this is, but if there's mod action of some variety, there's a lot of potential as far as the multi-classing system here. There's not a single moment that the AI has ever used it whatsoever throughout the entire game. It would have been really nice if they did, but yeah, they never once did. A lot of the spells just don't, they do interesting stuff with them, like, the ability to change how much of a spell you're using, like right here, having intense, cross, and normal variants, just off of the one spell, instead of the usual, just, having different flavors of spell on the list. Just the variable casting thing is an interesting touch as far as multi-classing goes. But again, there's so many things that break it in its current state that it is basically novelty status. Like if, for example, I were to attempt to attack with this guy's set up as a spear dual wield build. If I attempt to attack with both spears at the same time, the game soft locks. If I attempt to have that ninja over there recruit somebody, it soft locks. If I attempt to have Mr. Salzburg over there do his duelist ability where he does a melee attack and does a ranged attack, but the stuff isn't lined up right for it, it may also just soft lock and/or it just won't trigger. Like, here, let's see if it's just on story fights or if it's here too. Nope, it's here too. So that's, yeah. And this isn't the only time this happened. Like, they thankfully patched some of the earlier stuff where you could just go and recruit bosses, but it's just so many core features just plain do not work, and it's frustrating because there's so much cool stuff that had potential here. The way that a lot of the skills are set up is fascinating and everything else, but this is its normal state for the entire last third of the game, in my opinion. That may not be an exact count hour-wise. Earlier on, it was far more polished, but as it goes on, like, it gets rough and rough and rough to the point that it's only technically playable once you reach the end there, which definitely hurts to say after all of the cool stuff that they tried here. So it's definitely a sour note to end on. It's a shame. I was really expecting, something more out of the ending there, and we already know that it's never going to get fully completed. But that's just kind of where we're at, Anyway, so that's really all there is to say there. The adaptable difficulty system was a cool thing. Unfortunately, it mostly just seemed to max out the difficulty and just kind of stayed there. I never actually saw it scale down. Ultimately, there were just enemies flying past the level cap, which didn't really make too much of a difference, other than the occasional just unit showing up and one-shotting everybody. But yeah, it wasn't really a huge deal. Actually, if anything, it saved time, because it let you just repeatedly recruit over-leveled units. The recruit system actually just got completely fucked up by the end. I think it was maybe checking accuracy values for the wrong thing or something. Because there were cases where somebody would have full health, you'd run up, and they would have like 73% recruit odds, which is... yeah, I have no idea. It just almost seemed to be completely random as far as the numbers it was throwing out for the last few fights there. There were a lot of moments where the scripted, supposed to escape sequences just basically created a situation where you're forced into a loss because you stunned a boss in a situation where you're meant to be surrounded and letting them escape. So unless you went ahead and prepared for all that ahead of time, it's a way for somebody to really effectively screw themselves. Let's see, as far as the mounts go, I loved what they did with the horses. It's a real shame there was only ever one dragon. The actual dragon that's in the banner and whatever else, and that they set up in the intro to the game never frickin' comes back. They tried to set up some kind of cult plot line that's supposed to mean something or other at the very end. I have no idea who any of those frickin' people were. So ultimately, it just sucks to see it end like this. I was expecting just, okay, if it ends on a weird note, whatever. I mean, if the entirety of that Necromancer arc was just cut, and that same work put into this ending and making it at least functional, as just at least not frustrating to play, it would have been fine. But that's not what we got here. It's not only frustrating to play, it is borderline unplayable. Like I said, it's technically playable, but damn, it's messed up. Like I said, I think in total it took like 6 or 7 tries just to get through the final area, just to get it to stop soft locking because I tried to play the game. Hell, I don't even remember launch day New Vegas being this bad now that I think about it, because in that case it was like you'd get the occasional crash every hour or something, but in this case it's just like, please, let me get through a single fight without something breaking. I don't want to keep redoing the same fight over and over and over because somebody decided, the final map One of the times that it soft locked on me, it's because the AI was scripted to go and escape off the map. Like they panic and run away after a certain point, which is a cool mechanic, except that the final map has walls and no escape points. So their only thing was that they were trying to escape, and then instead they end up attacking, but then they also just seem to get into some kind of infinite loop, and they just got stuck right at the very end. The fight was already won, but it's a loss anyway, and got to redo the entire thing because they panicked and had no place to run to. So just, it hurts, man. It just hurts to see so many potential ideas end like this, you know. Anyway, so yeah, if you're looking for where to spend that $15, again, if you're looking for a curiosity, you just want to see what's going on here, go ahead and go for it. But frankly, at this point, I can definitely understand why people were so pissed at this ending. This is real bad. Battle Brothers is $15. Felseal's less than $15. Tactics Ogre's only $25 right now. There's a whole lot of ways to make those $15 go farther right now. Alright, anyway, I gotta get going. Y'all have yourselves a good one. And let me know what your experiences were. Normally I love to root for the little guy. I've been kind of rooting for this game and all the cool things that it tried for a long time now, but that ending was way rougher than I was expecting. And it wasn't just the ending, like the entire tail half kept having more and more jank. This thing needed several more months in the oven at least. Anyway, so that's about that. Y'all have yourselves a good one, and thank you for stopping by.